All right, this is Bobby Dorigo-Jones from Michigan's Children, here speaking with Dorothy Pintar, the Director of the School Success Partnership, Northeast Michigan. Dorothy, thanks for talking with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
First, just tell us the basics. What does the School Success Partnership do, and what does it look like to students and families and people in the school building?
Well, I think we should go back to the beginning of how it started and why. Reason being is community leaders in Northeast Michigan were working with and seeing the same families. So it became very expensive, and we were all wondering why this particular family is at DHHS. Why are this particular family at Community Mental Health? Like, we were all working with the same family. So back in 1991, we did a community needs assessment. And what it showed is the common denominator and link between all the families that we're working with was school failure. So we decided as a community we need to partner together and figure out how to help kids and families to succeed in school, because school failure was linked to so many other things like chronic poverty, unemployment, juvenile delinquency, domestic violence, teen pregnancy, child abuse and neglect, lack of parent education, and that was in this area. So we started by placing school success liaisons in school buildings so we could see who the kids were coming to school with, if they were coming to school, and we're really accessible to the student, but we could see what was happening during the day. Plus, we have access to the school systems, so we can go in, because we have that partnership with them, and see, like, how many kids have missed 5 days of school? How many kids have missed 12? We also do home visits. So we were able, with families who didn't have transportation, we were able to go to the homes to see. So we were kind of linking home to school. Basically, what we do is on a referral basis, for any reason, there's no income eligibility guidelines, although 80% of our kids are free and reduced lunch in our program. Like a teacher could refer, a next door neighbor could refer, anybody can refer for any reason to the program. And then what we do is we have our school success liaisons who are housed in school buildings kind of do an investigative phase. So we will take a look to see how often they're missing. We'll call the parent and get permission to work with them. We'll go to the home and talk with the caregiver, whoever it is, but they have to volunteer to be in the program. And we've never had one person since 1991 say no to our services, because it's also a free service to parents. Unfortunately, it'd be great to say, well, a kid just needs to be in school. But there's various reasons that our kids aren't coming to school. And once we get to have that relationship with a parent, we get to know what that reason is, remove that, get their basic needs met first, and then sort of move on. And what we saw as a result, there was increased school attendance. There is improved academics. There is improved parental involvement in their child's education. And we are removing the barriers through data, through a U of M evaluation. 2 of them prove that this program is working. You know, the overall of this program last year is 80% of the kids in our program improved academically. 79% improved in reading, 78% improved in math, 98% reduction of absenteeism.
Thank you, Dorothy. And to follow up, you mentioned the school success liaisons. It sounds like they are really a key piece in making all of this work. Could you describe maybe what a day is like for a school success liaison, you know, who they're talking to in a school building, what kinds of things they're doing?
Yeah. So we just have a very simple structure. So it's a little bit different in each school, but the structure is, once we get a referral and we see that they're an appropriate candidate for the school success program, then we will get parent permission, and the parent wants that. They want us to come to their home, because I think what builds that trust early on is that phone call that is saying, here's who we are, and here's what we're seeing, and we just want to know if you're seeing anything at home, can we help you? Because they might have already gotten calls from the school that they're like, I can't take it anymore, We are not DHHS. Although, we do have a lot of contact with DHHS, we have some parents, they've never been to their kid's school, because they have not had a positive experience in school systems. So those are our formal kids that we have parental involvement, and that we see the parents or have contact with them at least twice a month and keep them engaged in their child's education. It might be taking them to their first parent-teacher conference, or taking them to their kids' Christmas program, which prior to us being there, they've never done that, which then encourages them to be more active with their child's academics. We also work informally with every kid in the school if we need to. We then will refer these kids to the therapist in the school. And then we also do groups. We may do like a friendship group or a bullying group. We do classroom presentations, holiday gifts. We work with Feeding Kids Ministries all around. We pack the backpacks with them, and we distribute that food in those backpacks every single Friday to every single one of the kids in our program. We have, we'll just take the alternative ed students that we work with in our program. 43% of them are homeless. So we know that chronic absenteeism obviously is connected to homelessness and poverty. So as we work with these kids, our stat is those 43% of these alternative ed students, we know that 230 of them are now in school full-time that weren't before because they were homeless. So we do all those other little things that help not even kids on our caseload possibly, but it's throughout the whole school. And what works is I'm placing people who are from that area, who are invested in that area, who want to do this type of work. Some have been teachers and decided they wanted to work more closely with individual kids and love this program. I have nurses. I have law enforcement. It's really finding the right person for that community who's invested in something like this. I mean, we'll pick lice out of kids' hair to get them to school if we need to. These are things that happen because we're developing stable, continuous follow-up relationships. And that is the importance of why we need to keep the state funding. We must keep it because we have started on a path with these kids that we see year after year, right, working with and develop a relationship. If we are the only people that have that relationship with them, what's going to happen with all these kids?
Right. We know from child development and research that when you break up a relationship abruptly, with a student, that's bad for them, and that hurts them. And you've demonstrated just now that this is a real partnership in every sense, and sustaining a partnership requires resources. And you've been able to convince a lot of local agencies to join the partnership, but this has also been a funding partnership with the state. And during this year's budget process, the final state budget included a veto of funding for the School Success Partnership. Could you tell us, what did the funding from that grant allow this partnership to do? And what will schools, students, families, and the community lose if these cuts remain in place?
Well, yeah, first off, the reason why we have been able to sustain this program is this is, again, not a pet project. We've been running since 1991, and it's because it works, and this is the service in Northeast Michigan that we have. And 30% of a budget is a big deal. Our funding is all over the place. We may have a Catholic Human Services say, we have $5,000. We want the School Success Program to have it because we know if we give it to them and they're working with our students, we'll see less people early, The court system. We work very closely with the court system, receive some money from the court system. We used to do blended funding. All schools put in a percentage as well, so they use their Title I funds. Like I said, we're not selling textbooks. We are the common sense service in an area like this needs. We pool all these funding sources, and we just make it work. And what the community is looking at and saying, if we invest in this program, the School Success Program, these school success workers are developing relationships that we can't. And because we're housed right in the school and we see these kids and the families, and from other districts that said, this is a program we need. It's inexpensive because we partner with funding, and we all have skin in the game. We all benefit from this school success service. Schools in Northeast Michigan cannot live without this program if they want their children to succeed in Michigan and to be productive members of society. So in 2014 was when that state funding started. It has increased over time. So $525,000 was vetoed, which meant the partnership with schools and Northeast Michigan Community Service Agency, that's 30% of our budget is now gone. But we've been able to run the program full tilt up until this point because we used just the school funds and NEMSCA funds. But now it has run out. So with the loss of that, we're looking at, 9 layoffs, a reduction of an area manager, no training, no supplies, which means over, 1,000 kids are not going to be served. 1,000 kids, to me, are going to have back to their truancy issues, which creates their academic issues, which nobody can identify the barriers. And parents will not be involved in their child's education. I just feel like our preventative momentum we know it's going to go away. We were asked to expand. We held up our end of the bargain. I feel like if that goes away, what we just did in the last, 5 years, how can we do that to schools and children and families?
Well, Dorothy, the case that we're making, that you make so clearly, is that programs like these that support students and families and their learning needs so they can succeed in school are not pork spending. They're essential state programs and essential services for our future. So thank you very much for taking some time to talk with us. And for those of you listening, you can follow Michigan's Children for updates throughout the rest of the budget season. And you can reach out to us if you would like to find more ways to get involved. Thank you very much, Dorothy.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.